One-pot meals are weeknight lifesavers, and this turkey and vegetable salsa skillet is my current favorite. Hi, I'm Caitlin, and welcome to Frugal Nutrition. When I was in school getting my master's in nutrition, we learned this cooking technique called steam saute. It gives you some of the benefits of sauteing, like a deeper development of flavor, but it cooks more quickly and preserves some of the nutrients by using a partial steam method. And that's essentially what we're going to be doing here. This recipe is super easy, but there's a little bit of technique, so I'm going to show you how to make it. So the most important thing is to make sure that when you're dicing up your vegetables, you're cutting everything into a small dice. This is especially important for the sweet potatoes because of all the ingredients, they take the longest to cook. And as a side note, when I remember, I love using a bench scraper to move my ingredients because it saves me from damaging my knife by scraping it along my cutting board. We're going to cube a medium sweet potato into small cubes about 1/2 inch or maybe a little smaller. If you have somebody hanging around that's very fastidious with a knife, this is a great job for them. Because of this cooking method, which is a little bit of this steam saute method, you really want to make sure the cubes are nice and small and relatively even in size. For the bell pepper, there are a million ways to cut up a bell pepper, so feel free to just use the method that you prefer. Just remember to come back for any extra bits and mince those up as well so they don't go to waste. And even though these are not usually interchangeable, you can also use a green bell pepper here. The sweet potato brings enough sweetness to the dish, so the bitterness of a green bell pepper is really well balanced, and they're much cheaper most of the time. We're also going to grab a few handfuls of washed spinach, either baby or full grown, and give that a rough chop. You can definitely substitute this with frozen spinach if you'd prefer. I have not tried this recipe with heartier greens such as kale or chard. I think that kale might not have enough time to break down and marry with the rest of the ingredients, but you could always give it a try. Today, I'm also using a jalapeno. This is totally optional depending on your spice tolerance and preference and the type of salsa that you're using. The salsa I have is a very mild salsa, so I'm adding a minced jalapeno with the seeds and all. To cook this recipe, we're going to bring some oil or ghee to medium heat in a large skillet. I usually use a cast iron here, but we don't have one with us in Estonia, so this medium-sized stainless steel skillet works just as well. We're going to start by adding the onions and sweet potatoes and let those cook and soften for a few minutes. You can add a sprinkling of salt here if you'd like as well. After 2 or 3 minutes, you can add the bell peppers and jalapeno and cook that, stirring occasionally for about 2 or 3 minutes. Next, we're going to make some space in the middle and add about 8 ounces of ground turkey. Yes, that's turkey. I know it doesn't look like turkey, but I promise you it's turkey. You're going to add all of your spices, and we're going to cook until that turkey is mostly browned. You do not have to follow this exact method, but I am only using 8 ounces of turkey, and I have room in my skillet to brown it in the middle where the heat is the highest, and I can keep everything pushed to the side while I'm doing that. I feel like this just saves a little bit of time and helps me to season the turkey itself with those spices. You can feel free to make this dish even cheaper by swapping out some of the ingredients like the green bell pepper instead of red, by using frozen spinach instead of fresh, and by reducing the meat further and increasing the beans. Just be aware if you do reduce the meat and increase the beans, the dish itself may not be quite as filling, so you may want an extra avocado on hand, so just be aware of that as you're adjusting for cost. Once it's mostly browned through, you can stir it to incorporate with the vegetables, and then we're going to add the black beans, the salsa, and the water. Mix this all together, then cover, and we're going to let the dish steam/simmer for about 10 minutes. This ensures the sweet potatoes and turkey are cooked through and helps to infuse the flavors. This method is also a great way to save on ingredients because it uses less oil than sauteing, but it builds more flavor than just steaming or simmering. After about 10 minutes, check and make sure your sweet potatoes are fork tender. If they're not, feel free to cook them a little longer, adding a little more water if needed. I like to cook this down until most of the water has evaporated. I prefer that thicker consistency, but you can play around with it, adding more water, broth, or salsa to your desired consistency. When the sweet potatoes are fork tender, add the chopped spinach and stir to combine. At this point, you can cook covered or uncovered depending on how much liquid is left in the skillet. And that's pretty much it. It's a really simple, straightforward recipe. Next, we're just going to decorate it with thin slices of avocado, garnish it with fresh lime juice and cilantro. I personally love to serve this with crunchy tortilla chips and a little more salsa on the side. You can also use this as a filling for burritos, tacos, or even nachos, and it's also perfect for breakfast with a runny egg. Oh my gosh, I love this recipe so much. The flavors are just my favorite. I think the creamy avocado pairs so well with all of the spices and the flavors from the salsa, and then the texture of the crunchy tortillas. It's so good. It's so good. I love it. So flavorful. It's like eating nachos. We're using only 8 ounces of turkey for this recipe in order to keep the price low, and we're bulking it up with black beans. As a result, this whole recipe comes to about $6.03, which comes to $1.51 per serving. Black beans provide protein, fiber, and carbohydrates, so they're not a perfect replacement for animal protein, but they can help you stretch your animal meat a little bit further. All right, that's it for this recipe. Thank you as always for being here. I'm gonna go enjoy this for my lunch, and I'll see you in the next video. I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel and watch one of these videos next. It's a little bit, and that's what we're gonna,